Yo, what's going on, gamers? It's Ryan 6 days a week, and just last night, OnePeg did an interview with the Ironmace CEO, and we got a good bit of information regarding the wipe, the next steps in development, and the overall health of the game. This video is gonna be short, since we're actually getting a second interview tonight at 6 p.m, hosted by both the Darkest Hour and the Hold the Line podcast. Links in the descriptions below. So, if you missed OnePeg's Q&A, you can participate tonight at 6 p.m. on Twitch. Alright. Now, let's go over the key points from the OnePeg interview. First, the wipe date. Right now, the planned wipe date is the 15th of March, or this Friday. No exact time is given yet. This is also very much tentative, so hey, don't book your vacation quite yet. Now, what is exactly confirmed so far in terms of new content for wipe day? Well, as of now, it looks like the new Squire Merchant, new items and gear, the new chaptered questing system, a new inventory equipping system, the return of the Goblin Caves and Ice Caverns maps, and the new seasonal rewards. I know, there are a few things I wanted to see on this wipe day list as well, but we'll touch on those items in just a bit, as they won't be too far out. First, let's go over the Squire Merchant, which we will actually have a screenshot for. The Squire is going to house any of your unlocked common grade equipable items and gear, and allow you to set a new player base kit. So, questing itself will be a bit more valuable for anyone climbing the upcoming Normals ranked ladder, as it'll give you quite an advantage in terms of quickly re-kitting. Next, a bunch of new items that have more hybrid stats, so think of leather gloves, occultist boots, or dark leather pants. Items that blend two stats or resistances together to aid in the variance of playstyles. I do expect we may even get some new weapons with this update too, though it wasn't explicitly mentioned in the interview. Next, the new chaptered questing system. A bit ago, we got a teaser from SDF about having a drip-fed quest release schedule, and it does look like it's going to be something that takes place as soon as a wipe happens. This will serve two primary functions. First, it will allow the team to incorporate more elaborate and multi-step quests down the line, and two, it will greatly reduce the power gap between grinders and the casual player base. The specific example given in the interview was gold gear, since, well, it's gated behind quests, or the crafting of it. So, not having these quests available at the start of wipe will delay that power spike, at least in terms of gear. Overall, I think this is a great change. Next, the new inventory equipping system. Terence mentioned that there is now going to be an equip time and opening inventory time, based on your character's resourcefulness. Well, this will counter throne utility, and we saw a lot of that last season. The only issue I see with this is some classes do have required utility, like the Bard. So I am interested to see how much resourcefulness plays into equip speed. Next, we'll be having the Goblin Caves return as a solo map and the Ice Caverns returning as a duos map. Runes is still in the process of getting fixed, so no word on its return quite yet, but regarding solo play, it sounds like the Goblin Caves is going to return as a 3x3 map, instead of the newly added 5x5, which has already stirred up some mixed opinions from the community. Now, I do have to say that I do enjoy the PvP heavy experience of the 3x3 Goblin Caves, but I actually think I enjoy the 5x5 experience more. My gameplay loop in the 3x3 map was essentially a coin flip of either getting spawn rushed or doing the spawn rushing, since the small map size let you essentially memorize all of the spawn points and access them pretty quickly in the match. This also made third partying fights a lot easier, since you could basically hear any fight that happens. It's a very small map. Basically, whoever spawns the furthest away from anyone is usually the one that makes it out with all the loot in the end. For the 5x5 Goblin Caves, I felt like the player combat was a bit more enjoyable since the PvP hotspots were more centered around PvE points of interest, opposed to actual spawn points. Sure, you had to seek out the PvP, which would often require you to clear a few modules and navigate the map, but I feel like that was a better pacing of the game. I'm not saying that the 5x5 map is perfect, since I do think it could use maybe a handful more of blue portal spawns, especially towards the end. But hey, I did enjoy the interactions I had on that map, and it kinda added more diversity into the gameplay loop. Alright, and finally, the last confirmed bit of wipe day content we will get is the cosmetic seasonal rewards, which include the new emote, the new campfire skin, and the new cloak skin. Now, What about the other things that have been talked about for some time, like the new class, new map, etc.? Well, for the sake of keeping this video short, and also due to the fact that we're getting another interview tonight and this info will get updated, I'm going to group the next set of content into two categories for now. Content I expect to appear within 30 days of the wipe, and content that will take longer than 30 days. Let's begin with the within 30 days group. First, the Druid. It does sound like the developer leading the R&D for the Druid project has spent a good majority of the last few weeks ill, so it did get pushed back a bit and won't be joining us on wipe day. However, from what Terence said in the interview, they have 3 animal forms in the working state and are now just working on polishing up the class. They really want this class to feel great, and it's going to be a quite different playstyle that involves new game mechanics, so a lot more work is required than we think. No exact date was given on this, but from just what was stated in the interview, it sounds like they're just a few final touches away. I would say early April if I had to guess. Next, player multi-classing. Ironmace is getting rid of the level 20 cap, and now your player can gather an infinite amount of experience points. You'll also become a master of your class at level 100, and have the ability to train out your perks and skills to your other characters in exchange for tokens that they receive as they level up and reach level 100. We're expecting to be able to begin gathering these experience tokens at the start of the wipe, but shouldn't expect to see the multi-class system implemented immediately. Again, no exact dates on this one, so I'm gonna say around the beginning of April as well, but that's just based on this interview and the screenshot shared with us. Again, we'll find out more information tonight. As for limitations of multi-classing, it does sound like there will be a select few perks and skills from each of the classes that you can train out. I do expect perks and skills will be added to this list and potentially removed based on data they gather as the wipe goes on. Now, for how they're actually picked, it does seem like it's going to be a random pool of 3 each time you exchange a token. So a bit of a roguelike element in terms of empowering your class with RNG. This is something that we'll get more details on as the system nears its release. And hey, before you start screaming about balance, I honestly think that this is going to be something pretty fun and interesting. And honestly, I think it's going to be something reserved for more endgame content, since 100 levels per class does take a while to get to, especially if the scaling is linear. Anyways, I'm hyped for this. I know it's going to be chaotic and very much unbalanced, but hey, it's new content. Next, we have the removal of the pre-match lobby. Stream sniping and pre-teaming have become an apparent issue, so Ironmace is planning on removing the pre-match lobby completely. So yes, this does get rid of the inspect feature, as well as the training dummy feature, which we'll touch on its return a bit later. Finally, a rework of the AP system and drop tables should be expected early into the wipe. Terence pointed out that they didn't incentivize PvP enough over the last season, and they do plan to rebalance the AP weighting to discourage too much lobby friendliness. They also wanted to give a little more weight to killing monsters and bosses as well, so more active exploring and a bit less sneaking. Now, for the stuff that is 30 days out and further. First, we have the Ice Abyss and Frost Wyvern game boss, which at this current moment looks like it may make a first appearance at the end of April. Again, this map is the map that immediately follows the Ice Caverns and is supposed to be around the difficulty of Inferno. As for the Ice Wyvern, this boss is supposed to be one of the game's main end game bosses, which I do expect will be harder than any of the Inferno bosses. Take that as you will. I don't actually have any more information regarding either of these quite yet. Next, a new playable race that will not be the Dwarf. Ironmace's animation team is still very much focused on the Druid, but Terence did tease that there will be another playable race that appears, and this will appear before the Dwarf. We got a pretty nice surprise with Lizardman too, so I'm excited about what they're cooking up. This may even be a big score for Team Akira, if you know what I'm saying. Next, the PvP arenas, which you will likely first see on the testing server, as it is a large gameplay feature change. This will be a team versus team isolated fight to the death that is built off of the game's current modules and will have its own AP rank that is separate from the PvPvE dungeon game modes. I do imagine this will live on the testing servers for a good while to start, maybe even a month, since it's technically a 5.3 build. Next, we we have the Dungeon Item Recovery Service and the Expressman for item extraction. These two ideas were touched a while back by SDF, but it sounds like they're very much still in the planning phase. For those who are unfamiliar with what this is, the Dungeon Item Recovery Service is a limited item insurance mechanic that gives players a chance to get their gear back if it was unlooted. Well, I believe. This does seem like it's something tied to the Goblin Merchant, so it might be like a buyback option. And the Expressman is an in-raid option to ship out some items to your stash. Again, these are still very much in the early planning phase, so nothing is confirmed quite yet. Next, we have the backpack and quivers, which are actually already partly built, but were developed in the old game system. So these items are basically near complete, but on hold since the team has been more focused on upgrading the game systems itself and didn't want to rebuild these features again. Terence did mention that with the completion of this redesign, or new game system, new content like this will come out much quicker. Next, we have the guild hall and player rooms. With the removal of the pre-game lobbies, Ironmace plans to have these non-combat zones serve as a player hub, where you can interact with others and test out your builds. Again, we have very limited info at this current time, but they have stated in the past that this will also be an area to store your trophies and other rewards, so we can expect guild events sometime in the future. And finally, the last update that is further than 30 days out, according to me, just a guess, is the Steam release. Ironmace's main goal is eventually get the game released on Steam, where the player base is expected to boom. That was the plan since the start and very much still a large focus of the team. In the meantime, they plan to do some marketing campaigns like a free trial week, Twitch drops, and community events, which I do expect to bring players back. But I don't think anyone expects a huge spike until Steam happens. We're all in agreement there, and they're working towards it. I know, I'm sorry. I don't have any more information regarding the Steam release quite yet. I wish I had an exact date or even a time frame, but with the lawsuit, I'm not sure if they do either. Hey, it might come up in tonight's interview, which again is at 6 p.m. PST on Twitch. Check in with the Darkest Hour or the Hold the Line podcast. Links will be included below, but come there with your questions, and hey, they might have answered. If you have the time, check out OnePeg's channel for his recap on his interview, and watch the full interview since I'm sure there's things that I missed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.